Facebook channel and on YouTube as well. And I'm gonna just bear with me for a moment while I share this. We're starting live coverage here at about 3:05 this afternoon. And all right, let's share this. On the Storm Tracker page. And we'll get our YouTube stream shared. Again, bear with me for just a moment here, everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon on the live stream. We're just kind of getting our ducks in a row here momentarily. All right, let's get started here. We're doing some live coverage here this afternoon with already a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings out for parts of northeast Ohio, and one includes parts of our viewing area. It was just issued a handful of minutes ago for parts of Mahoning and Trumbull County, southwestern Trumbull, kind of the western half roughly of Mahoning County. It's in effect until 4 p.m. A line of storms with some strong winds. North and east of Canton. This cluster out towards Kent and Ravenna and heading through northern Portage County has been interesting. There's been some rotation observed on the radar with this, and actually one spotter did report a funnel cloud for a time with this. There's some rotation just north of Kent right now. Now this is moving north-northeast and will be more aimed towards Geauga County, but might try to clip northwestern Trumbull County. The active warning for southwestern Trumbull, western Mahoning, is for basically strong winds. We might try to see a little rotation out of this. It's kind of a subtle signature on the radar right now. Louisville over towards Alliance on 62. We'll keep an eye on that. There might be just a little subtle rotation. And the warnings are starting to fly pretty fast, so we'll head down towards the I-70 corridor now from Cambridge on east. A handful of severe thunderstorm warnings down here, and the Weather Service is also indicating some of these are trying to rotate. This will be the way it goes for the next few hours. A lot of these storms are going to try to rotate. We have a ton of wind shear above our heads. In other words, the wind is changing directions rapidly as you go up in height through the atmosphere. There's also a lot of wind energy aloft. In other words, fast winds. If you look up, you'll notice the clouds are blowing quickly across the sky this afternoon. So there's a lot of energy in the atmosphere for these storms to feast on. The sun came out for a while during the midday and early afternoon today, aiding in the instability in the atmosphere. It's warm, it's humid. This is not the kind of setup we see very often in late September. This is what we typically kind of think of as more of a spring or early summer kind of a setup. But yeah, we've got a pretty good setup for storms possibly rotating this afternoon. So the warning, again, until 4 p.m. includes Austintown, includes Craig Beach, clipping the Sebring and Beloit areas close to that area, also catching Newton Falls and catching parts of the Warren area. Where you are not in the warning, Vienna, and not in the warning in Hubbard and in Sharon, and heading up towards Cortland and Kinsman and places like that. And then down in Mahoning County, you are not in the warning right now in a lot of the Boardman and Poland area. And Struthers and Coatesville and places such as that. But this is where the warning is in effect for about 50 minutes. Every time you hear that noise in the background, that's someone typing the word tornado into our internal pipeline into the National Weather Service chat. And so that noise always gets our attention, especially on days like this. Anytime tornado is mentioned, you're going to hear that noise in the background. So this storm out towards Louisville and coming into Alliance does have some fresh lightning and thunder with it, along with some gusty winds. And it's something we're going to have to watch because everything's going to try to rotate over the next couple of hours. By far and away, the most pronounced rotation has been up here, where you see kind of those blue blotchy areas from Maslin heading up towards Kent and Brimfield and Ravenna, and that's kind of aimed up towards Geauga County and might try to clip far northwestern Trumbull County. Let me stop the loop on this. You can see that there's not much rotation being currently observed in northeastern Stark County, but that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on still. North and east of Canton, there's maybe just a little bit of very weak rotation right in here. Alliance, Marlborough, along 62. But the warning was primarily issued for just general strong winds. These storms are not going to be big hail producers for the most part this afternoon. These are not big, tall storms. To get a lot of hail and impactful hail, you usually need storms that are pretty tall, 40,000 feet or higher. We don't have that kind of setup today. These are more low-topped thunderstorms. This is an environment characterized by a lot of wind shear, but not a tremendous amount of instability. So yeah, hail is probably not going to be a real big problem. All right, so we have a new warning till 4:15, and this one does, clip northwestern Trumbull. So that's with the storm that has been trying to rotate out in Portage County, might try to clip northwestern Trumbull. So the Weather Service pulled the trigger on a fresh warning until 4:15 for northwestern Trumbull County, basically Southington on north towards Bloomfield, Mesopotamia, and it clips southwestern parts of Ashtabula County as well. So that's our new warning. So we've got a couple of warnings ongoing right now. One, western Mahoning, southwestern Trumbull, and the other one catching northwestern Trumbull. The first one that was issued runs until 4. That's this guy right here. And then the new one runs until 4:15 this afternoon. Then off to our south, we'll keep a very close eye on what's transpiring down I-77 and across I-70. Coming towards Wheeling right now, and these storms are also trying to rotate east of Cambridge, between Cambridge and Wheeling on 70 and 470. These are going to continue heading off to the northeast. Here's the loop showing the direction of everything. Everything is not moving due east. It's kind of northeast, if you will. It's not exactly fast moving either. So, in addition to the risks of thunderstorm winds and possible rotating storms, in some of the more trouble-prone areas and kind of the nuisance spots, if you will, we might have to be on guard for some flash flooding issues this afternoon, especially in urban areas, and some of the other traditional trouble spots. It's been dry lately in most spots. We had some downpours earlier this week, especially in western PA and extreme eastern parts of Ohio. But for the most part, it's been pretty dry last few weeks. So we can absorb a fair amount of moisture, but with a fairly slow eastward movement, again, if your area typically has some problems when we have a little bit too much rain, you may have to be on guard for that possibility of flash flooding this afternoon. Just off screen, we have meteorologist Andrew DePaulo. Chris Serenelli's here as well, so we've got a team with you this afternoon keeping an eye on the radar, National Weather Service chat, which keeps going off in the background, and our reports from viewers as well. If you see anything interesting in the sky this afternoon, whether it be clouds, whether it be anything else, be sure to snap a picture, submit it on the Storm Tracker 21 app. You can email it to weatherpics, P-I-C-S, at wfmj.com, or tag us on social media, and hopefully we'll be able to pass those along to you. Again, for those just joining us here at 3:13, we're doing live streaming coverage just on Facebook and YouTube for now. We may have to expand this over to the app and to the website before the afternoon is through. Right now, nothing is terribly imminent as far as severe weather in our viewing area, although we do have a couple of active warnings ongoing. Weather Service says broad rotation with the line, Aurora, Streetsboro, Mantua, and another just west of Alliance. So I mentioned that a moment ago down in Stark County. Going to keep a close eye on this area around Alliance and east of Canton. Not a real strong signature, but a little bit of maybe some broad rotation that does bear watching. And so the Weather Service in their severe thunderstorm warning statement tagged that statement with a tornado possible tag because of the possible weak rotation. Hopefully it stays weak, But again, this is going to be the way it goes for the next couple of hours across our area. All right, so another severe thunderstorm warning continuation. Now that's the one down towards Tuscarawas County, southeastern Tuscarawas County, and closer to Wheeling. What we're looking at here, the wind velocity data off the, we're looking off the Cleveland radar here. So the reds are blowing away from the radar, the greens are towards, where you sometimes can pick out a little bit of a couplet. That's where we have some possible rotation. A couple of broad areas, weak rotation, probably not anything that is threatening to put something on the ground right now. One up here northeast of Streetsboro, and the other is down in Stark County, just west of Alliance. That's this kind of this little funky looking area right here. Just things we have to definitely keep an eye on. So again, recapping for those just joining us, we're going to be under the gun for severe weather for a couple of hours, maybe a few hours, up until maybe 6 to 7. This looks a little faster than it did yesterday. We thought this might want you checking in frequently, even if you don't watch this entire live stream. Check back in a few times. Make sure you're checking the radar on the Storm Tracker 21 app. Make sure you're following all of us on social media this afternoon. And if you know someone, a friend or a family member that maybe doesn't typically pay much attention to the weather, they might be outside mowing the grass, just la-di-da. Maybe they're on the golf course. Shoot them a text, give them a call, let them know, hey, we need to take the weather seriously this afternoon. And make sure that you have multiple ways of getting warnings, whether they be severe thunderstorm warnings or hopefully not. But in case we do have tornado warnings, we want you to have multiple and redundant ways of getting those warnings. Sign up for text alerts on our website and our app. Make sure that you have the Storm Tracker 21 app downloaded and the push alerts turned on that. Make sure WEA, wireless emergency alerts, are active on your phone. Usually by default they're turned on, but you do have the option of turning them off in the settings in your phone. Make sure those are on, because tornado warning will often theoretically trigger those. Sometimes the system doesn't work 100% of the time, but tornado warnings typically will trigger WEA. Down the list of the things that we want you to rely on when it comes to warnings, of course, those are outdoor tornado sirens. Those can be, for most people, the 4th or 5th line of defense, if you will, but for very few people should an outdoor tornado siren be the number one way in which you get warned of possible severe weather or tornadic activity. It's pretty outdated technology and really just serves a fairly limited population in 2021. All right, so we're going to continue the severe thunderstorm warning with the tornado possible tag on it. That's the warning that was issued a little while ago for western Mahoning, southwestern Trumbull. That's this warning right here. In effect until 4 p.m., so another 45 minutes on this. Austintown, Ellsworth, west towards Berlin, and heading out towards western and central parts of Stark County. It includes Newton Falls, it includes Mineral Ridge, and Clips Niles and kind of Clips Warren as well. And then the other warning polygon captures the rest of western Trumbull County, Southington on north towards Mesopotamia and up towards the 322 corridor, and southwestern Ashtabula County. So those are our active warnings right now, and then we've got more warnings to our south. And I'll take off the warning information here briefly and just give you a radar loop and give you a sense as to where everything is moving. Kind of looks like that. It's going to come and it's going to go over the next couple of hours, and then we'll dry things out gradually as we get into the evening today. Let's do some clock times, a little storm tracking, if you will. I want to see first what the Weather Service has this pinged at as the forward speed. About 30? So let's say 30 miles per hour on this line. These will be approximate clock times. Won't emphasize approximate because we're not going to be able to give you with 100% accuracy these arrival times, but this will give you a general sense. The bulk of this line should move through the Warren area between, say, 4 and 4:30 or so. Youngstown, say, between 4:30 and 5. And then crossing the state line into Sharon, maybe closer to 5 o'clock. Once you're over towards Mercer, maybe 5:30 to 6, something like that. And then probably pushing out of our viewing area well east of I-79 in western PA sometime during the 6 o'clock hour, it looks like. So again, everything's a little bit faster than it looked like it would be yesterday. These are not super fast movers, but they are moving at a decent enough clip that, this isn't going to last 7 or 8 hours or anything like that. Our severe weather threat in any one location will last a little bit of time late this afternoon, very early this evening, but then we'll be in the clear. The entire viewing area is, incidentally, under a tornado watch. This is our first tornado watch for our TV viewing area. I'm pretty sure this year, and I don't remember if we had a tornado watch at all in 2020. So it's been a little while since we've been under a tornado watch. We've had the occasional tornado warning in our region, but those have usually been when a severe thunderstorm watch is out. When a tornado watch is issued for our part of the country, that means conditions have to be real favorable for storms to spin. Tornado watches are not super common in eastern Ohio and western PA. We're not a particularly tornado-prone area. Of course, they happen, but they don't happen as often around here as in western Ohio and out towards the upper Midwest and the Plain States and down into the deep south as well. So this tornado watch runs until early this evening in all the counties in red. Let's hop outside. You got the Boardman camera active there, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Let's take a look at what you got there. This is our Boardman camera, 224 Market Street. We're looking to the southwest here. So Canfield is over in this direction, and then looking southwestward, darkening skies. Probably going to get a pretty good shelf cloud approaching this camera here before too much longer. Our other active camera right now is in Columbiana. The banner up top says Niles, but this is Columbiana, showing the kind of variable cloudiness down here. At times it's been kind of sunny at times today, and at other times it's been pretty overcast or somewhere in between. And yeah, we're looking a little more due south here, and you can see the flag is billowing. We've got a little breeze and ominous skies to our west-southwest here, looking away from the traffic circle in Columbiana. Let's check back in on the possible rotation. See this little kind of minima, if you will, in the velocity data. Northwest of Alliance, coming very close to the Mahoning County line and the Trumbull County line as well. Very broad and weak signature, but something that we just still have to keep an eye on. The other warning up here, this is the part of the storm that's been trying to rotate off and on. Again, this is very broad and weak. Probably no threat to drop any sort of tornado imminently, but still some broad rotation. Just north of the Turnpike, heading up into northern parts of Portage County, getting set to move up into Geauga County, closer to 422, the Parkman area. And this storm is going to try to graze northwestern Trumbull, which is why the warning polygon was extended over into that area. I'm going to switch over to the Pittsburgh radar data now and take a look at what's going on down to our south, closer to I-70. And yeah, you can kind of see there's these little squirrely areas, if you will, along the leading edge of our storms, coming into closer to Wheeling and Flushing, Route 22 down to I-70, pretty rural area, but yeah, some very subtle signatures, but still everything's just trying to spin a little bit with those warned storms to our southwest. All right, so we've got another half an hour to go on our initial warning that was issued for western Mahoning, southwestern Trumbull. The other warning runs until 4:15, catching the northwestern part of Trumbull County. But while I have a moment, just going to check in on my Facebook comments here. Thanks to everyone for checking in. We've got a big crowd on Facebook and a decent crowd, of course, on YouTube as well. If you're not following me on my YouTube channel, you can check out my content there, including my daily videos get posted to my YouTube channel. Make sure you hit subscribe over there. We're doing simultaneous live streams right now on those two outlets, so we'll make the stream available at some point on the app and the website if we have more warnings that come out. We have no imminent severe weather in our TV viewing area in the next couple of minutes. Anyway, we've got a couple of active warnings, but right now the worst of the action off to our west remains just to our west. Just to our west in southern Portage, and heading up into northern Portage and into Geauga. So the Weather Service is continuing that severe thunderstorm warning until 4. Still have the tornado possible tag on it. Again, because this is very weak rotation, but a little bit of rotation nonetheless. Just north of Alliance right now. And we'll check in on this. Again, this looks pretty weak, but there's just a little bit of funkiness right here. Well north of Alliance now. Closing in on I-76 here before too much longer. This is not something that looks to my eye like it's going to imminently drop a tornado or anything like that, but definitely is going to continue to bear watching. The more pronounced rotation earlier was with this up here when it was near Kent and Ravenna especially. It's weakened some as this has moved off to the north. Even with fairly weak rotational signatures on this, there's still some gusty winds embedded in this line where the storms are warned. You'll notice that these are not super prolific lightning producers. There's lightning and thunder, yes, but we've had storms that have produced much more vivid lightning than these. These aren't super tall storms. These aren't the kind of 50,000 foot storms that you oftentimes can see, especially in the spring and early summer. A little more low-topped, shallow convection, if you will. There is some lightning and thunder, and all lightning is dangerous, of course. We don't want to downplay the lightning threat too much, but these are not super prolific lightning storms. Quick slice will show you what I mean. Quick cross section of these storms. You can see the top of these storms, where the reflectivity is highest, kind of peaks at about 30,000 feet. There's some light reflectivity over top of that, but up to about 30,000 feet is where the kind of the heavier reflectivity echoes are with this. So tall enough to produce some lightning, but not tall enough to produce a lot of hail or anything like that. And we expect that to be the case with subsequent convection for the rest of the afternoon and evening. If you're watching us from Western PA, the sun has been trying to come out at times, and is still out in Mercer and in Newcastle and over towards Slippery Rock, and a lot of Mercer County still in some sunshine. The more you see some sun, the more sun there is mid-afternoon. It's actually going to increase your chances of some gusty storms before the afternoon is through. That sunshine is helping those air parcels rise. It's helping the instability in the atmosphere. And so the sunshine is not necessarily good news. And we still have a decent amount in our western PA counties. The sun is fading quickly under a thickening cloud deck, of course, in eastern Ohio as our storms are approaching. All right, so again, for those just joining us, let's talk about the timing of everything. It looks a little bit faster than yesterday, so we're going to be needing to stay weather aware for a few hours. Late this afternoon, very early this evening. I think we're going to be in the clear in our eastern Ohio counties, Trumbull, Mahoning, Columbiana, probably by 6 or so at the latest. It may take until later in the 6 o'clock hour, maybe even close to 7, as you head farther to the east out towards eastern Mercer, eastern Lawrence counties. But in Youngstown and Niles and Warren and down into Columbiana County, we should be out of the woods here very early this evening. All right, new severe thunderstorm warning down towards Belmont, Guernsey, Harrison, Jefferson County in Ohio. That's new polygon right there. So if you have outdoor plans or did have outdoor plans this afternoon, the next few hours are going to be key. We just need to pay attention to everything over the next few hours. Of course, sunsets are getting earlier and earlier very quickly at this time of the year, so it gets dark not long after 7. So by the time we're completely in the clear, it's going to be dark in most spots. So in most spots, your late afternoon activities are going to be a no-go, whether it just be raining lightly and the storm threat has passed through, or you haven't quite seen the storm threat just yet. No matter where you are, the weather's not going to be great, is what I'm trying to say, late this afternoon and very early this evening. Again, another look at our weather cameras. This is our Boardman camera, and which way are we looking here, Chris? Are we looking
due west?
We're looking due west with approaching shelf cloud activity, maybe some scud.
Scud, yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised if we have a lot of scud this afternoon with the low cloud bases, very humid, moisture-laden air. Look at the dew points above me. I mean, they're up in the upper 60s to around 70. This is the kind of situation where you can get these little appendages off these low-hanging clouds. These are often mistaken for something more ominous than they are. Scud clouds in and of themselves are harmless. But they are kind of scary looking sometimes because they are pretty low and they're dangling, and sometimes people think they're funnel clouds and things like that. It's an easy mistake to make. But it's going to be a day where we probably are going to see a fair amount of that, in addition to the legit threats of possible funnel clouds and tornadic activity this afternoon. Again, the banner up here says Niles, but we have our Columbiana camera active here. We're looking kind of west-southwest from the roundabout in Columbiana. Ominous-looking skies, for sure. Look how dark it is well off to the southwest, and we're looking towards the activity. Let me bring that back up. We're looking towards the activity that's primarily impacting right now areas closer to Wheeling and out towards Flushing, kind of the Route 22 corridor.
Want to check Niles up north, too?
Down here, yeah. We'll take a look at Niles. We go on to camera 1 on that one? Or...
Here, there we go.
All right, so we're going to activate the Niles camera here. Banner's going to be wrong. It's going to say Boardman, but in a moment, Niles will pop up. There we go. We're looking west along 422. We're across from Eastwood Mall here. Ominous-looking skies again, looking almost due west-southwest. Looking away from Niles. There we go. And out ahead of where it gets really dark, you'll notice, again, we have kind of a variable sky. Variable types of clouds at different heights in the atmosphere, but it's definitely quite dark off to our southwest. We've also had a decent breeze this afternoon. You'll notice, if you look real carefully, the American flag is blowing pretty good there in the Bob Evans parking lot. A lot of wind shear in the atmosphere today, so down here at the ground where we are, the wind is primarily kind of east to southeast. But then you go up in the atmosphere a little ways, and it's more south to southwest. And so that changing of the wind direction with height is what we are primarily talking about when we talk about wind shear. All right, back over to the radar here at 3:32. Couple of active warnings in our TV viewing area, but everything's moving slow enough that they're taking their sweet time coming into our viewing area. Still primarily focused over in Portage County, Geauga County as well. These storms have had a history of trying to rotate broadly. The rotation was a little bit tighter a while ago, maybe a half an hour or so ago, out towards Kent and Brimfield and Ravenna. The rotation's not as pronounced as this is pushed up into Geauga County. Also, some weak rotation has been noted in northern and northeastern Stark County, southern Portage County, Atwater right now, kind of the 224 corridor. Once you exit the Berlin Lake area in Mahoning County and head into Portage County, this is where, again, some very broad weak rotation. It's just not much to write home about, but it's just misbehaving just enough, if you will, that we have to keep an eye on it. It's this area right here. It's very weak, very broad, but it bears watching as this continues to kind of pivot. Looks like into southwestern Trumbull. So heads up in Newton Falls and surrounding areas. This storm is just about to push in. It looks like in the areas covered by the warning in Mahoning County, especially south and east, the southeastern part of this warning polygon, so closer to Beloit, closer to Ellsworth, looks like you're going to miss most of the particularly troublesome spots of this storm. This is more aimed up towards Craig Beach, Lake Milton, heading up towards Newton Falls as well. So we're going to continue watching that. The other area where we've tried to observe some rotation right now near Auburn, along 422 in Geauga County. I don't think this is going to be a problem in the near term, but we got to keep an eye on it. We got to keep an eye on everything this afternoon. The atmosphere is ripe to produce rotating storms this afternoon. which is why we are under a tornado watch, a rare, fairly rare tornado watch for our area. I mentioned it a little while ago. It's not often we're put under a tornado watch around here. We get, a handful of tornado warnings a year on average, but when conditions are good enough to produce perhaps a higher end tornado event, that's typically when you see a tornado watch issued ahead of any warnings. And yeah, we don't see these very often around here. I'm pretty sure this is the first one in 2021. We might not have even had one last year. I'd have to go through the record books and look. But yeah, tornado watch for our entire TV viewing area, all the counties in red, runs until early this evening. It includes all of our TV viewing area, it includes all of the Pittsburgh area, and down towards Wheeling and Steubenville as well, and also captures parts of the hillier terrain east of I-79, along I-80, and east of Pittsburgh as well. So that's the tornado watch. Andrew, Christy, you guys have your email open. Have we gotten any pictures or anything
Nope,
from
nothing
anyone?
that I've seen so far. We haven't got anything in.
All right. Just a reminder, everyone, if you do see some interesting clouds and you can safely take pictures this afternoon of any kind of weather phenomenon, you can pass them along, weather pics, P-I-C-S, at WFMJ.com. You could submit them right on the Storm Tracker 21 app. If you scroll down on the front page of the app, you can find a spot that you could take the picture and submit it right there. You can hit us up on social media as well. Chris Cernelli, Andrew DiPaolo are with me this afternoon, so if you tag them on social media, they're going to be able to see what you're sending us as well. We haven't had too many picture opportunities just yet, with most of the activity still just to our west. But if you do see anything this afternoon, be sure and pass it along. You guys are our eyes and our ears, mostly our eyes, when it comes to covering severe weather. We've got all the fancy equipment in the world. We've got a handful of weather cameras, access to all sorts of good data and information, but having spotters out there that can show us the ground truth is something we really rely on quite a bit when it comes to covering severe weather. So darkening skies approaching Boardman and Youngstown and Warren and Niles, and heading down towards Lisbon as well. The sky is getting quite dark, of course, once you're out towards Hanoverton and Salem and Ellsworth and up into the Warren area, Newton Falls. The storms themselves remain just to the west of our television viewing area, so still focused kind of on far eastern Portage right now, parts of Geauga, also eastern Stark County. Everything is making some eastward progress, but it's making more north than eastward progress right now. It's going to be the way it goes here for the next few hours. Everything's not moving just due west to east, like a lot of our squall line situations do. This is all stuff that's rotating around low pressure, strengthening low pressure off to our west, and therefore, because everything's kind of drawn into low pressure, if you will, everything is tied to that circulation. So we're going to continue the warning until 4:15 for northwestern Trumbull. I mentioned that low pressure system. Quick regional view. Here's that low out here, strengthening. Out ahead of it, lots and lots of wind energy up above our heads in the atmosphere. And the winds are changing direction with height. So down here at the ground, we got a little bit more of a southeasterly wind, and then upstairs, it's a little more south to southwest. And so that changing of wind direction with height is what we're usually referring to when we're talking about wind shear. A lot of times when we talk about wind shear, we can also discuss the change in wind speed with height, which is a factor today as well. You go from winds that are not terribly strong down here at the surface to quite strong aloft. So sometimes we throw around these weather terms, these meteorology terms, and sometimes we get caught up in the moment and don't explain them, and that's unfortunately just the way it is. Sometimes we have a lot to discuss and talk about and communicate. Sometimes we don't have time to really explain some of the nitty-gritty, some of the meteorology, but right now we do have time because in our viewing area, things are fairly quiet, even though it's pretty ominous just off to our west. And let's check in on the rotation. Two areas that we've been watching. Very broad and weak near Palmyra along I-76, approaching Craig Beach. This isn't any sort of classic red next to green couplet that we see sometimes with rotating storms, but there is some very weak broad rotation right there along 76 and 225. The other area is up into far northern Portage and really up into Geauga at this point. It's kind of this zone right here, Auburn over to Parkman. This is just going to try to graze northwestern Trumbull near Mesopotamia. Far northwestern Trumbull has to watch out for that one. But it heads up again, Newton Falls area, Craig Beach. Everybody should be out of the water. If anybody is in the water on this Wednesday afternoon, a work day, a school day, it's not as busy on the lakes as it is during summertime. But yeah, anybody who would be outdoors in the path of this, from Newton Falls to Craig Beach up towards Braceville, now's the time to get out of the way of this. Dangerous lightning, some gusty winds, and some broad rotation. Got a picture, I believe, submitted to me on Facebook, so I'm just going to take a moment to check that out. All right, some ominous skies on 224. Now looking west there. This is... That picture was from Mike, 224 Berlin Township. All right, we're going to continue the warning until 4 p.m. Again, every time you hear that kind of screech in the background, that means the Weather Service or someone in the National Weather Service chat has mentioned the word tornado. Doesn't have to be a tornado warning, just if someone types the word tornado, that noise goes off. And these storms so far, the Weather Service has been putting what we call a tag on those warnings, saying, hey, this is a severe thunderstorm warning, but we can't rule out a tornado either. Everything is trying to broadly rotate. And so, because they put that tornado tag on the text of the warning, we get that awful noise in our ears that makes us jump 10 feet in the air. But it's a day in which we're going to hear that noise quite often because, again, everything's going to try to misbehave a little bit this afternoon. What I mean by that is rotation is going to be distinctly possible. Now, looking well off to our south, closer to I-70, quick look at the warnings down here. And, again, you don't see any sort of classic signatures on the wind data here, but a few kinks in the line, a few little notches here and there. So everything down there bears watching as well. Not a day where we're probably going to see a whole lot in the way of just classic couplets, classic reds and green couplets. We don't typically see those all that often around here anyway. Those are things that you see more often in Alabama and Mississippi and out towards Kansas and Nebraska and Texas and places like that. But this kind of setup is not one that's going to produce too many, I think, vivid couplets, if you will, showing obvious, super obvious rotation. Everything's a little more subtle today in this kind of a setup.
I'll be right back.
Weather Service says so far we've only had some lowerings of the clouds in northwestern Portage. They're going to, of course, keep an eye on it, but everybody keeping an eye on the possibility of some weak rotation, primarily with this stuff north, everything from I-76 on north at this point.
So it looks like this will roll through here, roll through now on the way in. 4, 5, 6 o'clock, we'll be having begun for some stronger weather. This will roll through between 6 and 7.
All right, so again, I'm going to take off the warning information here just to make this a little bit easier to see.
Yeah, well, 6 and 7 it'll be rolling through, and by 7, 8 o'clock it'll be gone.
So there's one just weak area of rotation coming towards Newton Falls right now. The other one's been up here. Both of these don't look to me and to the Weather Service like they're going to drop anything on the ground imminently. But everything is just bears watching. Not only with these two, but stuff off to our south as well. New severe thunderstorm warning, Jefferson County on south, includes Harrison, Belmont, and Brooke. A little bit of a closer view of what's coming into Newton Falls here momentarily. Again, right here, just a broad area of rotation that is coming towards Newton Falls right now. We're not going to say with any sort of certainty that, hey, this is going to produce a tornado or anything like that. And I'm not going to advise anyone to get to the lowest level of their home or anything right this moment. But stay tuned, because if the rotation tries to tighten up, we'll change our tune a little bit. So again, if you're Newton Falls and Braceville, and maybe eventually Leavittsburg and Warren,
That area there.
then you got to keep an eye on it. Let's head over to our cameras here briefly. This is Niles. You see the Eastwood Mall sign right there.
We'll switch over to camera 2 here, Eric.
Camera
We've
2.
got, this is looking off to that area of weak rotation toward Newton Falls area. That's what we're looking at there.
Okay, so we're looking towards what I was just speaking of that's coming towards Newton Falls right now. So we're looking kind of west-northwest here away from Youngstown. The banner is going to say Niles at the top, but this is our Youngstown camera perched high atop our transmitter tower on the south side of Youngstown. Some scud, some low-hanging cloudiness dangling off our base clouds here. Again, this is pretty distant. I mean, this stuff has yet to come into Newton Falls, so we're looking pretty far away from our camera location here, but nothing that's real obvious as far as a wall cloud or a funnel cloud or anything like that from our distant vantage point. But again, if you're watching this from the Newton Falls area, Braceville, stay tuned. We're not going to say, hey, seek shelter based on what we're seeing at this very moment, but we might have to change our tune if that rotation tries to tighten up a little bit. Right now, I'm pretty unimpressed with it. It's right here. I'm pretty unimpressed with that, but we're going to keep an eye on it. The other active warning up in northwestern Trumbull is because this storm has had a history of trying to produce some rotation. It was much more vivid rotation when it was closer to Kent and Ravenna. Now that it's up into Geauga County and grazing northwestern Trumbull, the rotation up here is also pretty broad and not particularly impressive, but something we're going to keep checking in on because severe thunderstorm warnings are out with that in northwestern Trumbull. All right, so in a lot of areas, you're watching us saying, hey, storms, what storms? Why are you guys doing live streaming coverage? Things are pretty quiet. So it's not going to stay that way all afternoon. Right now, we're focused on our extreme western viewing area. But if you're watching us from Mercer, where the sun's out right now, you'll get your chance here in a couple of hours, probably as we head closer to the dinner hour for many of us. Western PA will get in on the action. Let's do a fresh storm track for you. I'll try to get better clock times for you because, again, everything's not moving exactly like due west to east by any stretch of the imagination. It's kind of north-northeast. So we'll try to adjust our storm track a little bit for accounting for that. Everything's moving kind of about 30 miles per hour. And so some approximate clock times here on when you can expect the weather to deteriorate pretty rapidly. The Youngstown area, and what I mean by Youngstown area, you can count Boardman in this, and Struthers, and Camel, and Poland, and up towards Niles, and into Liberty, and kind of that zone. Probably 5 to 5:30. Closer to Sharon and just across the state line, so heading down towards New Wilmington, Newcastle area, you're probably looking at between 5:45 and say 6 o'clock, 6:15. And then the far eastern part of our viewing area, over towards New Lebanon and Grove City, and over towards Slippery Rock, it's going to be probably sometime in the 6 o'clock hour and just before 7, before we can give you the complete all clear out in those areas. And I'll do another loop, give you a sense as to how everything's moving. Again, everything's kind of rotating against around low pressure off to our west, and so
Here.
yeah.
I got a movie for video from Mary.
All right.
Showing some definite scud right now, but didn't get to see the whole thing. But this is out of Newton Falls. She said Newton Falls, Lake Milton. So.
All right. So we got an email with a movie attached here. It says Newton Falls, Lake Milton. So not exactly sure, exactly where this is. Let me show you. Let's see if I can show you this. Doesn't look like I'm going to be able to show you that on the stream, but I can tell you that there's some scud here. Nothing real obvious as far as rotation, just kind of an ominous looking sky. Thanks to Mary for emailing us that. Weatherpics@wfmj.com is our email address.
Maybe try to lower a little bit.
Portage Trumbull till 4.
What are we looking at there, Chris? Is that Youngstown camera?
Yeah, it's Youngstown camera looking off toward the Braceville area right now, trying to lower just a little bit.
All right, so again, this is our Youngstown camera. Banner says Niles, but it's Youngstown. We're looking towards Newton Falls, Braceville area. Just, yeah, you can see the base of this cloud trying to lower some. Really hard to tell from this vantage point in this distance if this is doing any sort of rotation. But at the very least, the base of the cloud is lower, and something that we're going to have to watch. Maybe before too much longer, we'll be able to get a view of that on the Niles camera.
We've got some tree obstruction
yeah.
a little bit there, but
Unfortunately, our Niles camera is not nearly as high as our Youngstown camera is.
yeah.
Weather Service just had a report of a lower cloud feature, probable wall cloud near Newton Falls, moving north-northeast. So that's
There you have it.
that's just what we were talking about. So, good eye there by Chris Sarinelli talking about the lowering possible wall cloud associated with the broad rotation
Niles or Youngstown? Should we wait?
This is Youngstown here.
that's out here.
That's Niles.
This knows.
Yeah. I think Youngstown's a little clearer.
Yeah, I think so too.
So we might
Better shot.
be trying to see some sort of lowering or even a wall cloud trying to form around Newton Falls right now. Again, the rotation on the radar is not particularly impressive, but we got to, we're just going to continue to monitor this. So if you're watching us from the Newton Falls and Braceville area and heads up in Leavittsburg and even Southington,
These cameras for
our tune might have to change on this if the rotation tries to tighten up or we see something on our cameras or we get a spotter report of something that's a little more ominous. Right now it appears to be just a lowering of the cloud and possible broad rotation with this area right here, right around Newton Falls. So, we're not going to tell you to get in the basement right now. We're not going to tell you to find the lowest floor and away from the windows just yet, but stand by if you're watching us from western parts of Trumbull County. From, say, Warren and Champion on west. Something that we'll have to watch.
just to the southwest of that area we were just looking at.
Was that camera one?
Yeah.
All right.
I flipped them around.
Oh, okay. All right, so we're back on the Youngstown camera, right?
Yes, sir.
So yeah, this feature off in the distance. It's hard to discern much because we're pretty far away, but it's definitely a lowering of the cloud base, and we're looking kind of northwest here,
They're
west
good
northwest.
not so far. I haven't been streaming at all.
That's
Okay
fine.
on that. Okay. Cool. Just give me the okay on that whenever if you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, this is the view from our tower camera. So again, hate to be repetitive, but I know people pop in and out of the stream. If you're watching us from southwestern Trumbull County, especially right around Newton Falls and up towards Southington, and eventually into Champion and even the Warren area, heads up. There's some broad rotation that's been occurring around Newton Falls, and a lowering of the cloud base, and we might have to change our tune on what to do if we see any further evidence that this is going to try to produce more than just a lowering of the cloud base. Checking in real quickly on the other active warning, northwestern Trumbull. It includes Mesopotamia and Farmington. And Southington, you're kind of in both polygons down there. Heavy rain, certainly, and some lightning. Middlefield, Parkman. Rotation, probably not much of a concern at this point. Here's the velocity data off the Cleveland radar. Again, broad rotation, probably nothing all that crazy, all that imminent, all that dangerous right now, but certainly a decent storm coming into northwestern Trumbull, just grazing that part of the county. And again, this is the area that this rotation might be tightening up a little bit. Let me slow down the loop on this. So this is the last handful of scans. You'll notice we're getting a little bit more of a red blotch close to the green, right around Newton Falls right now. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on that. Severe thunderstorm warning runs for another 5 minutes until 4. We'll see what the Weather Service does downstream of this. Will we get a new warning polygon that covers a little more of Trumbull County like this? Yeah, that's going to be possible. remains to be seen, but the current polygon will expire. The warning will expire in 6 minutes in southwestern Trumbull. So, again, Braceville, Newton Falls, Leavittsburg, and surrounding areas. Keep watching, keep paying attention. Right now, this just looks like a scary-looking cloud, but if we see any further evidence that it's something more than that, we're going to, of course, tell you about it. We have Chris on the controls on the camera here, taking a look at that storm from a distance. This is from our Youngstown camera on the south side of Youngstown, up on the transmitter tower, and so we get a nice view of storms. Still quite a distance away from this storm. This is just coming into southwestern Trumbull, but you can definitely see that the cloud base has lowered in that vicinity. All right, let's head back over to the radar. On Facebook, D mentions, big wind gust and lower clouds in Newton Falls. Someone mentioned on Facebook, could we show the direction everything's moving? Yeah, just stay tuned. We're going to keep cycling through and doing radar loops and that sort of thing. We've done that several times already, but real quickly, here's a look at the loop, showing everything kind of moving to the northeast. Everything's moving at a roughly 30-ish miles per hour. The most imminent threats are in western Trumbull County, but of course we have more action off to the south, closer to the Wheeling area. Mary on Facebook says, definitely looks like it's rotating towards Newton Falls. This is the area we're keeping an eye on right now, as of the last scan of the radar. Braceville area, 534, coming towards 422. Heads up in Southington. Anyone in kind of the northwestern part of the Warren area, Leavittsburg area, Champion. We're not seeing any evidence of an imminent tornado or anything like that, but we're going to keep checking in on this very frequently because, again, we might have to change our tune a little bit and tell you to seek shelter and take this very seriously if we see more evidence on the radar or spotter pictures or anything like that, that this is a threat to produce an actual tornado. The current severe thunderstorm warning is going to expire in 3 minutes associated with this storm. I guess, given the radar trends, I think the Weather Service will probably issue something new, catching more of Trumbull like this, maybe catching the Cortland area, catching Champion, Mecca, places like that. We're going to find out in a couple minutes, though. If you're watching us from Columbiana County, especially, you'll be the first to get in on some of the action that's off to our south.
4:45.
Yeah, there's the new polygon that I just mentioned. So we've got a new warning now until 4:45, and there it is, almost exactly what I was kind of speculating. All right, Andrew, if you want to go ahead and launch the stream, I'll get mic'd up here.
Okay.
And then
Links plus down here. Okay, that's good. List draft.
Definitely some scud going on here.
Chris, could you go back and tell Ron that we're starting a live stream?
He's a master.
He's going to be in production. and I'd like to do a cut in at the first opportunity. All right, so we're just arranging a little television cut in here before too much longer, since we have a few active warnings now, and still keeping an eye on the rotation, the broad, fairly weak rotation, but rotation nonetheless, in southwestern Trumbull County. This is kind of a different view. I'll stop the loop. So what we're showing here are the rotation tracks. More pronounced rotation earlier up here, Geauga, Portage, but some weak rotation again observed around Newton Falls. And new severe thunderstorm warning was issued just a couple of moments ago, replacing the old one. This runs until 4:45 now. It includes Champion and Cortland and Kinsman.
Okay, we're
Bezetta?
live right now.
All right, so we're
Yeah.
live on the app. All right, so we're streaming now not only on Facebook and YouTube, but on the Storm Tracker 21 app and WFMJ.com. So again, Kinsman, Cortland, Mecca, Champion, all in the warning. The old warning, the one that will expire sooner at 4:15, captures the northwestern part of Trumbull County, including the Mesopotamia area. No active warnings right now in Mahoning, in Columbiana, and over into western PA as well. Hey, Ron. Okay, we just need to do 30 seconds.
So we're live, but I'm not seeing anything.
Just take max 1. Just take max 1, yep. All right, just let me know. All right, go ahead. Again, on the live stream, we're just setting up a TV cut-in, so bear with us for just a moment. Hi, everyone. It's 21 News Chief Meteorologist Eric Wilhelm with you this afternoon. Our severe weather threat has commenced, and we do have a severe thunderstorm warning until 4:45 for a good chunk of Trumbull County. This storm has had a history of trying to produce a little rotation around the Newton Falls area, and while the rotation is not super strong, we're keeping a very close eye on this as this moves through the central part of Trumbull County. Again, an area of weak rotation along 422 right now in southwestern Trumbull County. Elsewhere, the weather is quiet for the time being, but it won't stay that way for long. We have a threat for damaging winds and even some isolated tornadoes with any of these storms that will move through the area over the next couple of hours. We expect clearing of that severe weather threat from west to east as we head into the very early part of this evening. We're doing live continuing coverage right now on the Storm Tracker 21 app, WFMJ.com, and our social media outlets as well. Thank you.
A little bit of a
Nah.
tail going on here.
We'll, all right. All right, and Ron, we'll have to do my recorded stuff after the 6 at some point. Yeah. All right, so we're done with our TV cut-in, so thanks for hanging with us on that. Real quickly, I'm going to post on my social media. Actually, what I want to do is not post a picture of myself on social media. So you're gonna see me disappear for just a moment here while I update my social media with the latest radar scan here. And yeah, we're just talking kind of behind the scenes here that the rotation does not look as strong in the last couple of scans as it did. But these things can cycle up and down, so we're gonna keep an eye on it.
Still some lowering, but it's kind of messy.
Mm-hmm.
very heavy rain along I-80 from the viewer.
Okay.
So some gusty winds, heavy rain. If nothing else, something that can make you pull over or adjust your speed if you're driving, stuff like that.
Yeah, Chris brings up a good point. In addition to the threat for strong winds and possible isolated tornadoes, there's some heavy rain in this stuff. So you've got to take it easy and slow down, and you don't want to hydroplane, and you can have some problems if you try to drive through very heavy rain, of course. And we've had several bouts of that this summer. We've had our fill of rain, especially earlier in the summer. It's been a little bit drier of late. All right, so I'm back. Again, thanks to everyone on the live stream for your patience as we're trying to do multiple things at once. Quick TV cut-in, quick social media post, and keep you updated for those watching here on the stream. We have a couple of innocuous thunderstorms right now. Salineville up to Lisbon in Columbiana County, another downpour down towards East Liverpool, and a couple of showers have popped up with some downpours around Canfield right now, right along 224 and 62, kind of right through the Village Green in Canfield, and also starting to see a little rain popping up around Mill Creek Park and heading closer to downtown Youngstown. All that is nothing too crazy right now. We're going to focus for the time being on Trumbull County because this is where our active warning is in effect until 4:45. Thankfully, the rotation over the last couple of scans of the radar has not been quite as impressive. Let me actually do a half-an-hour loop on this and slow down the loop. So yeah, this was trying to tighten up this rotation a bit for a time around Newton Falls. The last couple of scans, though, not as impressive looking. Now, we're looking off the Cleveland radar data here because in western Trumbull County, we're a little bit closer to the Cleveland radar. I am just going to real quickly check and see what this looks like from the Pittsburgh radar, and we're looking higher up in the storm now because we're farther away from that Pittsburgh radar, but you can still see kind of the area we're keeping an eye on right here, right around Southington. Is where we have to keep an eye on this. At the very least, there's some gusty winds with this. Now we're sampling pretty high up in the storm here, but the radar is sampling a 57 mile per hour gust near Champion right now. Whether that's happening down at the ground, let us know in the comments if you're seeing anything real super windy around Champion, but we have to be a little bit careful with the data that we're getting off the Pittsburgh radar when we're looking at this part of Trumbull County. And again, more warnings are lurking off to the south. Actually, those warnings expired. All right, so we have no new warnings off to our south right now. That's good news. So they allowed some of the stuff that had warnings on it closer to Wheeling to expire. So we like that trend. So coming up here in 7 minutes, we're going to have just one active warning still left in our viewing area because the one in far northwestern Trumbull will expire at 4:15, but the current warning will run until 4:45 for northern parts of Trumbull County. Keeping an eye on possible weak rotation coming towards Mosquito Lake right now, coming towards Bezetta, coming into Champion and Bristol. It's currently raining quite hard in Southington along 422 area as well. And Newton Falls, that rotation is pushed off to your north and east. You are probably in the clear as far as a severe weather threat at this point. Let me draw a line for you. At this point, severe weather is probably unlikely for the rest of the day west of, say, this line. So everywhere out here, Akron, Canton, coming towards Kent and Ravenna, Cleveland area, New Philly, you're probably in the clear at this point. This line is where the severe weather threat primarily is, and once this main line pushes through your location, it's going to rain for a time, and you can still see a gusty wind in spots, but the threat for severe weather will probably, at that point, once it clears your area, probably be done for the day. I am actually liking some of the most recent trends because the rotation in Trumbull County is a little bit weaker than it was earlier. There are no active warnings with the stuff that's been impacting areas closer to I-70. Not to say there won't be again, but right now we have no active warnings down here. And a quick check of the wind data off the Pittsburgh radar. No active warnings, but still a lot of wiggles along that line. So new warnings could pop up anytime. At the very least, probably some gusty winds heading towards Steubenville right now. And so heads up in Columbiana County. This may be your problem here before a whole lot longer. Everything's moving to the northeast at about 30 to 35 miles per hour. See the colors switch here. It's because I switched again to the Pittsburgh radar data. Sampling the storm pretty high here, but still just some broad weak rotation between Southington and Bristol, approaching 45, approaching Route 88, just to the east of 534 right now, and just to the north of 422. That's the zone we have to keep an eye on. All right, I'll keep saying what I was saying earlier for those around Newton Falls. If you're watching this from the Bristol area and kind of the west side of Mosquito Lake and even closer to Bloomfield, we're not going to tell you to get in the basement right now. We're not going to tell you to get away from the windows and things like that, get to the lowest level, because we don't think a tornado with this is imminent, but we're keeping a very close eye on this because this has been trying to rotate at times over the last almost an hour. As this moved through northeastern Stark County into southwestern Trumbull and now into central Trumbull. We're not seeing any evidence of a tornado with this, but some broad rotation with this right now. Andrew, if we could take a look at the Niles camera, if we could point that Niles camera kind of northwest, see if we can get a view of this. And what is that camera 1 or 2 that's active right there?
That's camera
2. Andrew's adjusting our Niles camera. We're overlooking Eastwood Mall here, showing the darkening conditions off to the north and west. I was going to see if we had a view of the lowering. It's a little hard to see from this vantage point. Little shelf cloud action right there. Leading edge of some rain-cooled air right there. Definitely some low cloud bases. These clouds are hugging the ground.
Yeah.
All right, so we're doing a tight zoom here.
Yeah, just it won't stop.
Oh, is it just continuing to zoom?
Continuing to zoom.
It's a camera that's out of control.
Excuse my.
All right, so I'll get off that.
I'll
get off that camera. This is our Youngstown camera. This is the vantage point we had earlier towards Newton Falls when the lowering was near Newton Falls. Now nothing to look at from that vantage point right now. When we're done with the Niles camera, if we could point that Youngstown camera kind of due north.
Yep.
Overlooking the city and whatnot.
Yep.
This is you look at the skyline over Youngstown, of course. If we could pan that up, see if we can look at the sky looking northward over Trumbull. It's hard to see much right now. Yeah. Nothing that really stands out from our Youngstown camera right now. So heading back to the radar, our northwestern Trumbull warning will expire here like in a minute. And our active polygon right now is in effect, warning polygon is in effect for another half an hour. It includes a lot of northern Trumbull County. When you hear me say polygon, that's kind of a term for the shape of these warnings. It's been about 14 years now since we've gone away from county-based warnings. And if you watched our severe weather coverage before, I've talked about this many times. It used to be that entire counties were put under severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado warnings, flood warnings. That usually is not the case anymore. The Weather Service will draw these shapes to better hone in and on where the actual threat is. Sometimes they look like a rectangle, sometimes they look like an octagon almost, sometimes a rhombus, all sorts of fun shapes. But a polygon is kind of the general term for these kind of funky looking shapes that these parallelogram, there you go.
Back in geometry class.
All those geometry terms we used to learn. So when you hear me say polygon, that's what I'm talking about. Weather Service is saying at this point they're going to let the northern warning go and not reissue downstream. So they're referring to the warning that was out here that just expired a moment ago in northwestern Trumbull, southwestern Ashtabula. So they're not going to issue a new warning for that part of the storm. They're going to, of course, keep an eye on it. And so that's our latest Weather Service message. Again, I'm a little bit surprised. No current warnings issued by the Pittsburgh Weather Service office for this cluster down here. The reason I'm surprised, it's not because of what I'm seeing on the radar necessarily. It's just by this point I figured we'd have a whole bunch of warnings with this activity, and we don't want to let our guard down, of course, because new warnings could occur at any point. But right now, all of this is behaving, if you will. There are some little squiggles and kinks in the line. We see some of these little squiggles now coming into Steubenville. We got to keep an eye on that, but no severe thunderstorm warnings attached with that activity that's approaching the southern part of our viewing area here, as we head into the second half of the current hour. We have a little thunderstorm around Lisbon. That's nothing severe. Another one over towards the state line, north of Calcutta, heading up 170 between Calcutta and Unity Township and the East Palestine area. We've got a couple of showers around Austintown. Heavier rain lurking out towards Craig Beach, Lake Milton, and up to Newton Falls and Southington. It's raining at a good clip. And let's check in on what the rotation may look like here. This is off the Pittsburgh radar, and we're kind of in no man's land in between the Cleveland and Pittsburgh radar here, so I'm going to look at both. This isn't very strong looking rotation to me, and we're also sampling the storm pretty high up. And off the Cleveland radar, the signature is, again, modest but not terribly impressive.
Ashtabula.
All right, so the message they sent a couple minutes ago saying they weren't going to issue a new warning. I guess they changed their mind on that. So we have a tornado warning now. It's out of our viewing area.
15 miles east of Sheridan, moving northeast at 25 miles per hour.
All right, so this is that tornado warning, again, north of Trumbull County up into Ashtabula. And I think they're warning because of this right here. So that's 445, again, out of our viewing area, but to our neighboring county to the north, up in Ashtabula. Fairly short fuse warning, only running 25 minutes. All right, so tornado warning up there. We're not going to hop on the air for that with television coverage because it's not in our TV viewing area. Yeah, it looks like the rotation might have just tightened up a little bit up there. Yeah, last scan or two, a little more impressive. It's still not great, but a little bit more impressive. All right, so down in our viewing area in Trumbull County, this is that broad, weak area of rotation near Bristol right now, near the intersection of 88 and 45. Heads up in Bloomfield and just east of Mespo, probably, and east of 534. The Route 87 corridor in northern Trumbull. You got to watch out for this. Same thing I was saying earlier when this was closer to Newton Falls. Stay tuned. If we change our tune on this, we'll have to let you know. But right now, we don't think a tornado is imminent with this, with the broad rotation, and the Weather Service just kind of freshened up the wording on the on that warning, running until 4:45. So you're no longer in the warning in Southington and Champion. You're still in the warning polygon in Bristol, Mecca, Bloomfield, heading over towards Gustavus, and close to Kinsman as well. Anything good on the cameras there, Chris?
Just a little bit more broad lowering here. Let me X out of this one here. We go to camera 2, the Niles camera. This is looking west-northwest and northwest down 422. So just some kind of moderately impressive formations. Was trying to zero in on that area near Bristol, but I think it's a little bit muddy for that camera to pick up at that height. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, this Niles camera, it's on a billboard across from Eastwood Mall. It's it's elevated a little bit, but it'd be nice if it were a little bit higher in the sky. But yeah, as Chris was mentioning, you may have heard him off camera there. We've got some lowering of the clouds certainly, but we're not seeing anything too crazy on our Niles camera. This is right along 422 across from Eastwood Mall. Just got a picture from Michael, northern Trumbull County, showing the ominous skies there. Thank you to Michael for that. Again, weather pics, PICS at WFMJ.com. That's the email address to send any weather pictures to. You can submit them on the Storm Tracker 21 app as well, and you can also tag us on social media. If you're watching me on Facebook, make sure if you have a Twitter account, if you're a Twitter user, following me on Twitter, EricWFMJ. Make sure you're following me on YouTube as well. Make sure you're following not only the Storm Tracker accounts on Facebook and on Twitter, Storm Tracker 21, but our individual team members as well, whether it be Chris Sarnelli, Andrew Paul, Emily Frazzini, and Tyler Ryan. All of us have social media that we, of course, on these particularly impactful weather days, we try to keep those social media channels as active as possible.
Pittsburgh trimmed away a few counties in the watch, but continued the tornado watch for the remainder. So,
all right. So Pittsburgh has already started to trim some counties out of the tornado watch. So you're going to see some flashing counties here. Those will stop flashing here momentarily. That's where the watch is still active, but they trimmed out some counties on the southern tier here, Tuscarawas County, and they canceled it for Marion, Marshall, Ohio, Wetzel, Belmont, Monroe, Harrison. Real quickly, I'll check in on that Ashtabula tornado warning. Weather Service in Cleveland just tweeted a pretty impressive-looking picture here, showing definitely a wall cloud. And this was... They didn't say exactly where that was, but it was in Ashtabula County.
NWS chat says in Ashtabula, so maybe
in Ashtabula proper.
Yeah. Although I thought that would be off to the north of
Yeah.
where that is.
Yeah, not sure when that was taken, but right now the rotation's
Well to the southwest of Ashtabula proper, yeah.
closer to Orwell, between Hartsgrove and Orwell.
Yeah.
In our Trumbull County area, this is the rotation right now. Again, weak, broad, but we're going to keep checking in on it every couple of minutes. Heads up in Bloomfield and Bristol, and even up towards Gustavus and closer to the Ashtabula line. Just stay with us for another 10-15 minutes while we make sure this does not do anything more than just broadly rotate. Do a loop for those just joining us. Everything's moving in this direction, kind of northeast, And we're not going to be out of the woods in our TV viewing area until probably sometime in the 6 o'clock hour when the last of this clears Mercer County. And I still am concerned about how much sun we saw earlier in Mercer and Lawrence County. So as these storms encounter that perhaps more unstable environment, they might still try to be mischievous. Heavy rain is approaching the East Liverpool area, Salineville, Route 39, southern Columbiana County. This band of heavy rain will bring some torrential downpours to Calcutta and Glenmore, East Liverpool, Salineville, up to Lisbon and West Point. Already seeing a couple of thunderstorms near Lisbon, kind of between Salem and Lisbon, in kind of the Route 45 corridor. But you can see this heavy rain band is approaching southern Columbiana County right now, and eventually this will work its way through Mahoning and Lawrence and up into our northern areas as well. Weather Service in Pittsburgh is issuing a statement talking about strong thunderstorms closer to Steubenville and covering southern Columbiana County, but no warning on that. So a statement saying, hey, heads up, strong thunderstorms, but not strong enough yet to warn on. But as I was just mentioning, heads up in Columbiana County, especially the southern part of the county, it's just about to pour even harder in areas around and south of Route 30.
And a bit of an interesting formation there in Columbiana. We'll pop this up on camera too.
All right, so Chris is telling me Columbiana camera. We'll pop back in here momentarily. We're still looking, southwest here?
Correct.
So a little lowering there.
Some heavy rain with it, obviously, too.
Yeah, sheets of rain occurring underneath that cloud. That's Columbiana. Our other active camera right now is Youngstown. Banner says Boardman, but this is Youngstown. This is 680 and South Avenue. In Youngstown, and not even really raining that much around downtown just yet. We've had some showers here and there, but a little bit of a downpour off to our east, closer to the Lawrence County line, and certainly some heavy rain to our west and also to our south. All right, for another 20 minutes, we have an active warning in northern Trumbull County. The tornado warning is up in Ashtabula County. And up towards kind of wine country up there. A lot of great wineries under that tornado warning right now. But in Trumbull County until 4:45, you're under the warning. And the latest scan of the velocity data off the Cleveland radar, you still have a little bit of rotation right over Bloomfield right now. I'll do a 15-minute loop on this. I suspect we're going to miss out on any threats with this rotation the closer you are to Route 46, and especially over towards Gustavus and into the Kinsman area. It looks like this is primarily going to be a miss to the west for you, and this will head into Ashtabula County here before too much longer and closer to the 322 corridor, this area of still fairly weak but noticeable rotation, I would say, right around Bloomfield right now. And to reset for those who may be just joining us, we've been streaming now for well over an hour on some of our platforms, and at this point, Western Mahoning County, Western Columbiana County, we're not going to give you the all clear just yet, but we'll get close to that point here before too much longer. The all clear from severe weather, that is. It's still going to rain for a while, but the activity to our south impacting the panhandle of West Virginia right now and heading down closer to Pittsburgh. This is probably going to be more of a concern for areas near the state line and heading into western PA. The farther west you are in Mahoning County, Columbiana County, the atmosphere is stabilizing now. It's raining. And the atmosphere is a little more stable now than it was. And so the threat for severe weather is probably lowering as we speak in a lot of places near the Stark County line, near the Portage County line as well. Even in Trumbull County, if you're near the Geauga and Portage lines, your severe weather threat is lowering quite a bit in places such as Newton Falls. So we're not going to sound the all clear, if you will, but we're going to get close to that point here before too much longer. And we're going to be able to give you the all clear in Trumbull County from this rotation here before too much longer as well, because the heart of this is getting pretty close to the Ashtabula line right now. So in the Bloomfield area, where we are seeing some rotation embedded in this, rain-wrapped rotation, if you will, this is just about to cross the county line over into Ashtabula County. And so the Weather Service may be able to cancel the Trumbull part of this severe thunderstorm warning a little bit early. About 15 minutes from right now is when it is set to expire. Off to the north, tornado warning is in effect for parts of Ashtabula County with a separate area of rotation that's near Rock Creek and Roaming Shores right now, and heading over towards Harts Grove. Even that rotation doesn't look especially impressive on the radar. We did get a pretty good picture tweeted by the Cleveland Weather Service office of a pretty good wall cloud with this a little while ago, and they may have issued a warning based on that picture more than what they saw on the radar.
Pretty impressive looking area just south of Columbiana here, and it looks like the rotation's trying to improve just a little bit there. So
all right, so as Chris Serenelli off camera just mentioned to me, this is Columbiana, not Niles, but we may be seeing an interesting looking lowering here, looking southwest from Columbiana. This would be looking at areas between Latonia and Lisbon.
North of Orwell. That's San Juan.
Yeah.
Continue that.
What we're looking at here in Columbiana, I'm going to pop over to the radar. And we're seeing a little bit of rotation and a lowering of that cloud now between Latonia and Lisbon, just east of 45 now, between 45 and 11. This is the area we're keeping an eye on right here. We just got a pretty good shot of that on our Columbiana camera. Yeah, that's a little bit concerning. We may be seeing a developing wall cloud here.
we've seen all day.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, this may be the best visual evidence we've seen all day on one of our cameras of some pretty decent rotation and lowering. So this is going to be something that we're going to have to keep a very close eye on. We're looking southwest from Columbiana right now. This is between Latonia and Lisbon. A lowering of the cloud base, potential wall cloud trying to form, potential rotation as well. It's associated with this kind of somewhat isolated storm. And when we look at the wind data, that was the kind of the rain data, if you will. This is another one of those rotation signatures that's not super strong, but it's noticeable. And it's heading towards Latonia and Columbiana. So we should probably see that formation, that cloud formation, that lowering, approaching our camera somewhat here in the next handful of minutes. And this will head across the county line into Mahoning County. So heads up in Latonia and Columbiana, and then heading up towards Beaver and areas along 46 and Route 11, Washingtonville area. And this is going to be our next area of concern, it looks like, with this developing storm that is pushing off to the northeast. So that's what we're looking at right there. Pop back over to our Columbiana camera. And yeah, this is the view from the traffic circle in Columbiana. Lowering cloud base. And I'm actually going to pop that onto social media. So I'm going to disappear for just a moment here, so bear with me. And again, for those watching on the live stream, I'm off camera for a moment while I post this picture onto social media. All right, back with you. This is going to be the storm we're going to focus on for the short term here.
Cancel severe thunderstorm warning for Trumbull. Continue severe thunderstorm warning with tornado possible for Ashtabula until 4:45.
All right, so they've discontinued the Trumbull County warning for northern Trumbull. So now we're going to focus on this fairly isolated storm that's coming into Latonia right now and grazing the Columbiana area. The reason we're going to focus on this is we just showed you some visual evidence from our camera in Columbiana of a lowering cloud base, possible wall cloud, possible rotation. It's not super impressive looking on the radar again, but it is something that a trained eye can see and notice that, hey, this is kind of interesting looking. And again, this was the view from our Columbiana camera. Lowering of the cloud base. Don't see any evidence that this is any sort of funnel lowering to the ground, but we should get a real good view of this in the next 10 minutes of this moving to the northeast as it approaches Latonia and parts of the Columbiana area. Eventually, we're going to have to pan this camera a little more to the right, because this is going to just pass by to the west of the camera location. So we should get a real good view of it as it does so. And so if we do see anything starting to emerge from the bottom of this cloud, we'll be able to have a good look at it and tell you about it. So for the time being, we have no active warnings now in our TV viewing area. We still have a tornado watch up until, what time's the tornado watch up until?
10 officially.
10 officially, yeah. It's going to be discontinued well before that, but officially 10 o'clock, the expiration time on the tornado watch. All the counties in red under a tornado watch. The conditions, we've been talking about these conditions for a couple of days now. Conditions are pretty ripe today for storms to try to rotate some. Not every rotating storm produces a tornado. Some of the rotations are very broad and weak. But the atmosphere is ripe. It's conducive today, if you will. A lot of wind shear aloft for storms to try to cause some trouble, more than just your generic thunderstorm winds. Possible rotation, something that we've been talking about for a couple of days now, and now we're kind of in the heart of a busy afternoon, and this is what we're going to keep an eye on in the short term. This storm moving into Latonia right now, grazing the west side of Columbiana area, heads up in Washingtonville, and crossing the county line into, yes, they need to put the bug back on. I don't know why it was taken off. Crossing the county line into Mahoning, heads up in those locations.
Hey, can you guys throw the bug back up for the tornado watch?
Yeah, formation's really impressive.
Thanks.
Can we zoom out a little on that, Chris?
As far as it goes.
Zoom out.
Yeah, it's as far out as it goes.
Oh, it's as far out as it goes? We can't zoom out?
Got it,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
I thought we were zoomed in. My bad.
That's all right.
This is what we're watching here. We're looking from the heart of Columbiana along the traffic circle. We're looking to the west-southwest now, lowering cloud base, and a little bit of a hint of rotation on the radar. But if this is going to try to produce anything beyond just a little weak rotation, we're going to be able to get a good look at it on this camera for another probably 5 or maybe 10 minutes. Eventually it'll get out of our range of our camera. But for the time being, we've got a real good look at this. And again, what we're talking about here is folks in Latonia, Washingtonville, even parts of Columbiana. Just stay with us. We're not going to tell you to get in the basement right now, but we're going to keep a close eye on what's moving through that area right now. It's kind of right along and just west of Route 11. And eventually, maybe this will come up into the Route 224 corridor, a more heavily populated area, if you will, up into the Canfield and Boardman areas. And we'll see if it holds together. This is kind of an isolated little cell, not part of kind of any sort of the main clusters in this zone. This is kind of on its own right now. Heavy rain getting set to also push back into southern Columbiana County. This will impact a lot of areas near the state line, the Beaver County, Columbiana County border, the Lawrence, Columbiana County line. That whole zone will get in on some of this heavy rain here before too much longer. Again, the severe thunderstorm warning has been allowed to expire in Trumbull County. We do have an active tornado warning up in Ashtabula County, with pretty pronounced rotation occurring up there. Quick look at the data up there shows, again, fairly broad rotation. near roaming shores and points to the north, again, out of our TV viewing area. That's probably about as far as that camera's going to go, right? It doesn't keep panning to the right, does it? Or does it? No,
Yeah,
actually it
it's
does.
360, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it stopped over there. All right, so this is going to cross this kind of pole before too much longer, and we'll get a view of it as it continues moving to the north and kind of grazes the west side of Columbiana.
It wants to. I moved camera 1 over to Boardman and have it pointing south, so whenever it does start approaching the 224 area, we'll be able to see it there as well.
Okay. Yeah, Chris was mentioning he moved our Boardman camera pointing almost due south now, overlooking BJ's and parts of the Southern Park Mall parking lot, and looking south on Route 7 or Market Street. So we'll get a view of that storm if it manages to come this far to the north and hold its structure together here eventually. We'll get a view of that, hopefully, on our Boardman camera. For the time being, though, I think we are going to discontinue the stream for the time being with no active warnings, and this looking not super impressive right now near Latonia and Columbiana. We're going to hop back on if it starts to look more interesting, but again, heads up, anyone in the path of this from Latonia and Columbiana on north, even all the way up to the 224 corridor, Canfield to Boardman. We're going to keep an eye on this, track this on the Storm Tracker 21 app on the interactive radar, and if conditions warrant, we will hop back on with live streaming coverage. For now, we're going to catch our breath, we're going to sign off, and of course, we'll have a full recap of today's events and tell you what's going on currently in an hour and 20 minutes on 21 News at 6 p.m. For now, signing off, we'll talk to you later.